Hey guys, it's Pastor Evan. Thanks for tuning in for Hope for Your Week. In the book of Romans, Paul writes these awesome words, starting in verse 8 of chapter 1. He says, "First I thank my God through Jesus Christ for all of you, because your faith is proclaimed in all the world. For God is my witness, whom I serve with my spirit in the gospel of his Son, that without ceasing I mention you always in my prayers, asking that somehow, by God's will, I may now at last succeed in coming to you. For I long to see you, that I may impart to you some spiritual gift to strengthen you. That is, that we may be mutually encouraged by each other's faith, both yours and mine." And then in verse 15, he says, "So I am eager to preach the gospel to you also who are in Rome." You see, there's a minuscule piece of truth in this passage that can be very easy to oversee if we're not careful. Sometimes when we read God's Word, we need to learn to slow down and really chew on God's Word. Having a plan that helps you read the Bible in a year is really great, but I wonder what would happen if we read the same chapter or book or passage for a whole week, month, or even a year. You see, I say this because Paul is onto something here. He knows that even people like the Romans, who had such great faith that it's been proclaimed in all the world, still need a daily dose of the gospel. That's why Paul says he's eager to preach the gospel to them. Paul wants them to realize that there will never be a point in their lives where they've made it, or they don't need the gospel anymore. One of the most harmful errors you and I can make in our lives is to assume that we've arrived, spiritually, theologically, or whatever. Paul knows that there are more facets and beauties and wonders in the gospel than anything else in the world. He wants you and I to understand that God's word is so intricate and huge, much like the Rockies, that we should be spending our whole lives looking behind every tree, lifting every rock, and peering into every stream. Many, many years ago, I went to this conference, and at this conference, we had the opportunity to get together in like these little table groups. And at the table group, with a bunch of random people I didn't know, we were given a set of questions to ask one another. And one of the questions was, what are you excited most to learn at this conference? And so we went around the table, and I said, well, I'm excited to learn about this, and this guy said he was excited to learn about that, and we went around the table, and then it came to this one particular person, and they said, "Oh, I'm not really here to really learn anything. I feel like when it comes to the Bible, I feel like I've learned everything there really is to know, and so I just signed up to come here to really just impart my wisdom to anybody who would be willing to listen." And that's exactly what he said. And when he said that, that really struck me, and it kind of almost made me a little worried for him. Because you see, this person had forgotten to preach the gospel to themselves. They had forgotten what Paul was talking about. They had forgotten that the Bible is something to be soaked in every day until the day we die. They had forgotten that we as humans really can't learn all that there is to know from God's Word in just one lifetime. Something I tell my teens all the time is to always be teachable, to be lifelong learners, and to fall in love with God's Word, to meditate on it, bask in it, rest in it, and explore it every single day. And I pray that you would do the same. Thanks so much for joining us today. We'll see you later.